In the history of warfare, the assault rifle is the deadliest invention of the individual soldier. But the story isn't just about the AK-47 and M16. It is a story of forgotten experiments, desperate wartime inventions, and the national pride of over 50 nations. From the trenches of World War I to the secret labs of North Korea, this is the complete, uncensored story of the select fire revolution. Let's start with the ancestors, the weapons that existed before the word assault rifle was even invented. Sei Rigotti. The first. Italy, 1990. Decades before the Nazis coined the term, an Italian officer named Amerigo Sei Rigotti built a gas-operated rifle that could fire fully automatic. It used a detachable magazine and fired a 6.5mm cartridge. It was plagued by jamming and overheating, but technically, this was the grandfather of every weapon on this list. Fyodorov Avtomat, the Russian prophet. Russia, 1915. Fyodorov realized that full-power rifles were uncontrollable on full auto. He built a select-fire gun chambered in the weak Japanese 6.5mm Arisaka cartridge. It saw combat in the Russian Civil War. While clumsy and heavy, it was the spark that started the fire of Soviet automatic weapon design. Winchester Model 1907 Modified, the Trench Sweeper, USA, 1917. During the Great War, standard rifles were too slow. French and American aviators modified this semi-auto hunting rifle to fire fully automatic and fitted it with extended magazines. It was crude, heavy, and fired a pistol-class round, but it brought rapid fire to the mud of Europe. Burton, 1917 LMR, the Balloon Buster, USA, 1917. A terrifying double-barreled machine rifle designed specifically to shoot down German observation balloons. It fired an incendiary intermediate cartridge and fed from 2 magazines sticking out the top like bunny ears. It was never mass-produced, but it predicted the intermediate cartridge concept by 30 years. Ribeiroles, 1918. The French missed opportunity. France, 1918. An automatic carbine firing a bespoke 8mm intermediate round, developed specifically for it. It was arguably the first true assault rifle by strict definition. However, the war ended before it could be adopted, and the French army went back to bolt-action rifles, forgetting the lesson. Vollmer M35, The Secret, Germany, 1935. A secret Nazi project developed before World War II began. Heinrich Vollmer designed a select-fire carbine firing an intermediate cartridge. It worked, but it was too complex and expensive to mass-produce for the rapidly expanding Wehrmacht. Next is World War II. The birth of the Sturmgewehr and the change of warfare. M2 Carbine, The Bridge, USA, 1944. The M1 carbine was a semi-auto self-defense gun, but troops in the Pacific needed more firepower. The M2 was the select-fire version with a 30-round magazine. While its bullet was round-nosed and weak compared to a true rifle, it brought fully automatic capability to the jungles of Okinawa and Korea. FG-42, The Paratrooper's Dream, Germany, 1942. Built specifically for elite German paratroopers, it fired a full-power rifle cartridge but fired from an open bolt on full auto to stay cool. It was a mechanical marvel that influenced the design of the M60 machine gun. MKB-42H and MKB-42W, the prototypes, Germany, 1942. The two competitors that fought to become the first assault rifle. Haenel, H, and Walther, W, both submitted designs to Hitler. Haenel won the contest, and their design evolved into the legendary STG-44. Sturmgewehr 44, The Father, Germany, 1943. The weapon that gave the class its name, Sturmgewehr, meaning storm rifle. It fired the 7.92 by 33mm Kurz round. It offered the firepower of a machine gun with the precision of a rifle. It came too late to save the Third Reich, but the Soviets and Americans took one look at it and knew the future had arrived. STG-45M, The Ghost, Germany, 1945. The cheaper stamped steel successor to the STG-44, it used a revolutionary roller-delayed blowback system to slow down the bolt. It was made to be as cheap as possible, proving that assault rifles didn't need to be precision machines. Grossfuss Sturmgewehr, The Gas Delay, Germany. A weird, ugly prototype that used a unique unique gas-delayed blowback system to slow down the bolt. It was designed to be as cheap as possible, proving that assault rifles didn't need to be precision machines. Wimmersberg SPZ. The Stengewehr, Germany, a crude last-ditch assault rifle made from Sten gun parts and STG-44 magazines. It was a desperate weapon for a desperate army, crudely welded together in the final days of the war. Sudaev AS-44. The heavy contender. Russia, 1944. Before the AK-47, there was the AS-44. It was the first Soviet attempt at an assault rifle using their new 7.62 by 39mm cartridge. It was reliable, but weighed as much as a light machine gun. Its creator died young, leaving the door open for Mikhail Kalashnikov. Tokarev AVT-40. The Uncontrollable. Russia, a select-fire version of the SVT-40 battle rifle. It was lighter than the AS-44, but completely uncontrollable on full auto due to the powerful cartridge. It was usually issued only to squad leaders as a desperation weapon. Type 4 rifle. The Garand copy. Japan, 1944. The Japanese Navy attempted to copy the American M1 Garand, but modified it to hold 10 rounds of Japanese 7.7mm ammo. It was semi-automatic, but prototypes for full-auto versions were drafted in a desperate attempt to match American firepower. Next is the Soviet Bloc, the AK family tree that armed the world. AK-47 Type 1, 2, 3. The original, USSR, 1947. Mikhail Kalashnikov's milled receiver masterpiece. Built with loose tolerances to survive mud, sand, and total neglect, it is not the most accurate weapon, but it is the most reliable machine ever built by man. AKM, the modern, USSR, 1959. The modernized AK. Instead of milling the body from a solid block of steel, they stamped it from a sheet. It was lighter, cheaper, and included a muzzle brake to help with recoil. This is the version you actually see in movies and news reports. RPK, the heavy, USSR, the squad automatic weapon version of the AKM. It features a longer, heavier barrel, a bipod, and a reinforced receiver to handle sustained fire. It bridged the gap between the rifle and the machine gun. Korobov TKB 517, the AK Killer, USSR, a delayed blowback rifle that was lighter, cheaper, and more accurate than the AKM. It almost replaced the Kalashnikov, but internal Soviet politics kept the AK in power because the factories were already set up for it. Type 56, the Dragon, China, the Chinese clone of the AK-47, recognizable by its fully enclosed front sight ring and the permanently attached folding spike bayonet under the barrel. It flooded Vietnam, Africa, and the Middle East. Type 63, the Mutant, China, a strange hybrid that looks like an SKS but uses a rotating bolt mechanism like an AK-47. It was an attempt by China to build their own indigenous rifle, but it suffered from quality control issues. VZ-58, the Imposter, Czechoslovakia. It looks exactly like an AK-47, but internally it is completely different. It uses a striker-fired system and a short-stroke piston. It is actually lighter and better made than the AK, proving that Czech engineers refused to just copy the Soviets. AMD-65, the Loudspeaker, Hungary, a short-barreled, loud, and flashy variant of the AK designed for tank crews and paratroopers. It has a distinctive side-folding wire stock and a massive muzzle brake that shoots fireballs. PM-MD-63, the Dong, Romania, the standard Romanian AKM. It is famous for the integrated wooden vertical grip on the lower handguard, affectionately known as the Dong, which helps control full auto fire. MPI-KM, the Plastic AK, East Germany, the East German version of the AKM. It is known for its distinct pebble-textured brown plastic furniture, which was lighter and more durable than the wood used by the Russians. Zastava M70, the Grenadier, Yugoslavia, the Yugo AK, built stronger than the Russian versions with a thicker receiver to handle the recoil of launching rifle grenades. buds. It lacks the chrome-lined barrel of the Russian guns, but it is incredibly durable. Tabuk Sniper, the Iraqi, a long-barreled AK variant based on the Yugoslav M70. It was used as a designated marksman rifle during the Iran-Iraq War and the Gulf Wars, filling the gap between the AK and the Dragunov. Type 88, the North Korean, North Korea, a copy of the AK-74. Instead of wood or plastic, the stock is unique. It folds over the top of the receiver to save space. It is rarely seen outside the Hermit Kingdom. Viger Stug 940, the last German AK, East Germany. An attempt to build a 5.56mm AK for export just before the Berlin Wall fell. It was a high-quality weapon, but history overtook it, and the factory was closed after reunification. Next is the Western response, NATO's struggle to adapt to the intermediate cartridge. AR-10, the Big Brother, USA, 1956. Eugene Stoner's original design. It fired the full-power 7.62mm round. It was revolutionary, using aerospace aluminum and plastic, but it was rejected by the U.S. Army. It laid the groundwork for the M16. M16/M16A1, the Space Gun, USA, 1964. The rifle that changed the West. It fired a tiny, high-velocity 5.56mm bullet. Early versions jammed in Vietnam due to bad ammunition and a lack of cleaning kits, but the design evolved into the most precise military rifle in history. Colt XM17, the Commando, USA. The shortened M16 used by Special Forces in Vietnam. It had a massive moderator on the muzzle to tame the noise. It was the grandfather of the modern M4 carbine. Stoner 63, the Lego Gun, USA. A modular weapon system used by Navy SEALs in Vietnam. It could be converted from an assault rifle to a machine gun to a carbine just by swapping parts. Brilliant, but maintenance-heavy. Armalite AR-18, the Widowmaker, USA. The rifle that Armalite designed as a cheaper alternative to the M16. It used stamped steel and a piston system. While the US didn't adopt it, its internal design was copied by almost every modern rifle today. Ruger AC-556, the A-Team, USA. A select-fire version of the civilian Mini-14. It used a traditional wooden stock and the Garand action, but fired 5.56mm. It was rarely used by militaries, but became a pop culture icon. FN-CAL, the Delicate, Belgium. FN's first attempt at a 5.56mm rifle. It was like a scaled-down FAL, but it was too complex and expensive to manufacture. It failed, but it taught FN how to build the FNC. FN-FNC, the Heat, Belgium. The successor to the CAL, a robust, reliable rifle that combined the best of the AK and M16. It famously appeared in the hands of Al Pacino in the movie Heat. HK-33, the Roller, 5.56, Germany. Heckler & Koch took their famous G3 battle rifle and shrunk it down to 5.56mm. It used the unique roller-delayed blowback system, heavy, complex, but incredibly reliable. HK-G41, the German M16, Germany. An attempt by HK to modernize the HK-33 to take M16 magazines and accessories. It was incredibly heavy and expensive, failing to sell on the global market. Beretta AR-70, the Italian, Italy. A solid, no-nonsense rifle combining features of the AK and the SIG. It served Italy through the Cold War until it was replaced by the modern ARX-160. SIG SG-530, the prototype, Switzerland. The roller-locked predecessor to the famous SG-550. It proved too complicated to manufacture, leading SIG to switch to a gas piston design.
SIG-540, the Export, Switzerland. A cheaper version of the SIG design licensed to France, Mannerheim, and Chile. It armed many African and South American nations during the 70s and 80s. SIG SG-550, the Rolex, 6. Switzerland, the most expensive standard-issue rifle in the world, built with tight tolerances and incredible materials. It is arguably the most accurate assault rifle ever issued to a military. CETME Model L, the Green Jammer, Spain, a scaled-down version of the CETME battle rifle. It was meant to be Spain's M16, but it suffered from terrible quality control and jamming issues due to cost-cutting. FAMAS F1, the Bugle, France, the symbol of the French Foreign Legion, a bullpup with an insanely high rate of fire, 1,000 RPM, and a lever-delayed blowback system. It can launch rifle grenades directly from the barrel. L85A1 SA80, the Civil Servant, United Kingdom, the British bullpup. In its first iteration, it was a disaster. Plastic parts melted, magazines fell out, and it jammed constantly. It took a massive rebuild by Heckler & Koch to make it work. Steyr AUG, the Icon, Austria, 1977. It looked like it came from Star Wars. It featured a built-in Swarovski scope and a progressive trigger, pull halfway for semi, all the way for auto. It is arguably the most successful bullpup in history. Interdynamics MKS, the Swedish bullpup, Sweden, an ugly, boxy bullpup prototype that never saw production but influenced later designs. It was an attempt to make a rifle as cheap as a submachine gun. Next is the poison bullets. The East shrinks the bullet to increase the damage. AK-74, the Poison, USSR, 1974. The Soviet answer to the M16. They developed the 5.45 by 39mm cartridge, which featured a hollow air pocket in the tip. This caused the bullet to tumble violently upon impact, creating devastating wounds. AKS-74U, the Krink, USSR, the gangster favorite, an AK-74 chopped down to the size of a submachine gun, used by tank crews and Spetsnaz. It is loud, flashes like a camera, and terrifying at close range. AN-94, Abakan, the Space Magic, Russia, the most complex rifle ever built. It features a hyperburst mode that fires 2 rounds at 1,800 RPM. The second bullet leaves the barrel before the shooter feels the recoil of the first. AEK-971, the Counterbalance, Russia. It uses an internal counterweight that moves opposite to the bolt carrier, canceling out the recoil impulse. It shoots like a laser beam on full auto. AK-107, the Balanced AK, Russia, a modernized AK that incorporates the recoil balancing system of the AEK. It has a distinct long gas tube to house the counterweight mechanism. AS-VAL, the Silent Death, Russia, a specialized assault rifle with a suppressor integrated into the entire barrel. It fires heavy, subsonic, armor-piercing bullets. It is whisper quiet and can punch through body armor. SR-3 Vickar, the Whirlwind, Russia, an unsuppressed, concealable version of the AS-VAL designed for VIP protection. It uses the same armor-piercing ammo, but is small enough to hide under a jacket. 9A91, the Budget Compact, Russia, a cheaper, simpler alternative to the SR-3. It was designed for police forces who needed the power of a rifle in the size of a submachine gun. OTS-14 Groza, the Bullpup AK, Russia, a bullpup conversion of the AKS-74U. It looks bizarre, with a carrying handle that houses the sights. It hits hard, but has a terrible trigger and puts lots of gas in the shooter's face. AO-63, the Twin Barrel, USSR, a prototype with 2 barrels side by side. It fired a 2-round burst so fast it sounded like one shot, significantly increasing hit probability. It was too ugly and complex for adoption. TKB-408, the First Bullpup, USSR, 1946, one of the first bullpups ever designed. It competed against the AK-47 but lost due to poor balance and reliability. It predicted the future of weapon design by 30 years. TKB-022, the Space Pug, USSR, a plastic bullpup from the 60s that looked like a toy. It had the magazine in the very back and ejected shells forward. It proved that polymer could be used in guns. APS, the Underwater Rifle, USSR, SSR, a weapon designed for frogmen. It fires long steel darts, 5.66 millimeters, that can glide through water. On land, the barrel wears out in a few hundred shots. ADS, the amphibian, Russia, the modern replacement for the APS. It can fire effective bullets both underwater and on land, solving the logistics problem for naval commandos. Shack-12, ASH 12.7, the urban dozer, Russia, a bullpup firing a massive 12.7 millimeter or 50 caliber cartridge designed to stop terrorists through walls in urban combat. It has immense stopping power, but very short range. Next is the modern world and indigenous pride. Every country wants their own rifle now. Daewoo K2, the Korean, South Korea. It uses the gas piston of an AK and the bolt of an M16, a perfect blend of East and West, widely respected for its reliability and use by the South Korean conscript army. Type 65, the Taiwanese backbone, Taiwan. Based on the R-18 but looks like a 16, it served as the primary rifle of the Taiwanese military for decades against the threat of invasion. T-91, the modern Taiwan, a piston-driven AR-style rifle. It is reliable, simple, and the upper receiver is popular in the U.S. civilian market as the Wolf A1 for its durability. Hoa Type 89, the Samurai, Japan, a lightweight, accurate rifle based on the R-18 mechanism. It features a 3-round burst mode and is built to strict Japanese quality standards. Hoa Type 20, the Amphibian, Japan, a modern, modular rifle designed specifically to be water-resistant and corrosion-proof for the Japanese amphibious forces. QBZ-95, the Dragon, China, the standard rifle of the PLA for decades, a polymer bullpup firing the unique Chinese 5.8mm cartridge. It marked China's departure from the Soviet AK platform to a homegrown design. QBZ-03, the conventional, China, a standard layout rifle used by police and paratroopers alongside the QBZ-95. It operates similarly to the Type 81, but uses modern materials. TQS-111, the Chinese OICW, China, a massive rifle grenade launcher combo carried by elite troops. It integrates a computer fire control system to detonate grenades over enemies' heads. QBZ-191, the Return, China, the new conventional rifle replacing the bullpup QBZ-95. It looks like a mix of an AK and an AR-15, signaling that China is moving back to traditional layouts for better ergonomics. INSAS, the Struggle, India, a troubled mix of the AK, FAL, and G3. It suffered from quality control issues, cracking polymer, and oil spraying into the user's eyes in the Himalayas. It is slowly being replaced. Excalibur, the improved INSAS, India, an attempt to fix the flaws of the INSAS. It features better furniture and rails, but the Indian Army largely decided to buy foreign rifles instead. Pindat SS1, SS2, the Indonesian, Indonesia, licensed copies of the FNSCN. These rifles are incredibly accurate and have won numerous international shooting competitions for the Indonesian Army, beating Western powers. SAR-80, the Sterling, Singapore, Singapore's first indigenous rifle, designed with help from the British company Sterling. It was a rugged, simple weapon for a humid climate. SR-88, the Upgrade, Singapore, an improved conventional rifle that saw limited use. It was a stepping stone to the SAR-21. SAR-21, the Laser, Singapore, a bullpup designed for conscripts. It has a laser aiming device built into the handguard and a thick Kevlar plate protecting the shooter's face in case the chamber explodes. BR-18, the Bullpup, Singapore, the successor to the SAR-21. It is lighter, smaller, and features rails for modern optics, designed for urban combat. Type 11, the Thai Bullpup, Thailand, an HK-33 converted into a bullpup, very rare and mostly used as a prototype or limited issue weapon. K-11, the Smart Gun, South Korea, an OICW-style weapon that combined a 5.56mm rifle with a 20mm airburst grenade launcher. It was heavy, expensive, and the grenades sometimes detonated early. immediately, leading to its cancellation. KH-2002, the Khaibar, Iran, a bullpup conversion of the M16. It looks awkward and has a very long trigger pull due to the linkage. It was Iran's attempt to modernize their massive stock of M16s. Masaf, the Iranian ACR, Iran, a copy of the HK-416/ACR. It shows that Iran is capable of producing modern-looking modular rifles despite international sanctions. Fateh, the Conqueror, Iran, a modern Iranian copy of the Scar design, firing 5.56mm. MPT-55, the Turk, Turkey, an indigenous rifle resembling the HK-416. It is replacing the G3 in Turkish service, giving their army a modern, modular platform. Malyuk, Vulcan, the Ukraine, a bullpup conversion of the AK-74. It is widely used in the current war in Ukraine, favored by special forces for its compact size in trench and urban warfare. Grot, MSBS, the Polish, Poland, a unique modular rifle that can be converted from a standard layout to a bullpup layout by swapping parts. It is the pride of the modern Polish defense industry. Beryl, the Polish AK, Poland, a highly modernized AK firing 5.56mm. It features rails for optics and improved furniture, serving as the bridge between the Soviet era and NATO integration. CZ-805/Bren 2, the Checkmate, Czech Republic, a modular rifle that rivals the Scar. The Bren 2 is currently serving in Ukraine and is considered one of the best modern rifles in the world for its smoothness and reliability. VHS-1/VHS-2, the Croatian Hellion, Croatia, a modern bullpup that fixes the flaws of the FAMAS. It is fully ambidextrous, has an adjustable stock, rare for bullpups, and looks like a futuristic railgun. Farah 83, the Lost Rifle, Argentina, an indigenous rifle developed in the 80s inspired by the Beretta and Galil. Only a few hundred were made before the project was killed by budget cuts. FAD, the Peruvian, Peru, Fusil Automático Doble, an odd-looking bullpup designed for tank crews. It has a curved magazine and ejects shells downwards to avoid hitting the user. Lapa FA03, the Brazilian Toy, Brazil, a bullpup from the 80s that looked like a plastic toy due to its curved lines. However, it was a serious rifle with a unique double-action trigger mechanism. IMBEL MD2/MD97, the FAL AR, Brazil, a FAL modified to fire 5.56mm using AR-15 magazines. It was heavy and rugged, serving the Brazilian military for years. IMBEL IA2, the modern Brazil, the current standard piston carabine. It uses polymers to save weight and is designed to survive the Amazon jungle. FX05 Xiaopuatl, the Fire Serpent, Mexico. It looks like a German G36, but internally it is different, designed and built in Mexico to combat the cartels, ensuring that the technology stays within the country and can't be embargoed. Galil Ace, the improved, Israel, Colombia, a modernized Galil with a polymer lower to save weight and rails for optics. It is the standard rifle of Colombia and Vietnam, proving the Galil design is immortal. Tavor TAR-21/X95, the Hebrew Hammer, Israel, the standard bullpup of the IDF. Designed for urban combat, it balances the weight towards the shoulder, making it easy to hold with one hand while opening doors. Gilboa Snake, the double tap, Israel, an AR-15 with 2 barrels and 2 triggers. It fires 2 rounds simultaneously. It's more of a gimmick than a service weapon, but it is terrifying in concept. Vector R4/CR21, the South Africans, South Africa. The R4 is a toughened Galil. The CR21 is that same Galil wrapped in a futuristic polymer bullpup shell that looks like a spaceship prop. STV-380, the Vietnamese, Vietnam, a modernized Galil Ace built locally in Vietnam. It replaced the AK-47 as the standard issue, showing Vietnam's shift to modern manufacturing. MA1, the Burmese, Myanmar, a locally produced copy of the Galil, often made with lower quality materials and distinctive ventilated handguards. It arms the Tatmadaw military. Type 98, the North North Korean weirdo, North Korea. An AK-74 with a massive helical magazine like a Bison submachine gun attached under the barrel. It holds a huge amount of ammo, but makes the gun incredibly heavy. Next is the modern Western standard, the age of the rail and modularity. Colt M4 Carbine, the benchmark, USA, a shortened M16. It became the defining weapon of the War of Terror, lightweight, modular, and capable of mounting lasers, lights, and optics instantly. HK-G36, the polymer, Germany, a rifle made almost entirely of high-strength plastic. It was lightweight and futuristic, but suffered from controversy over melting trunnions in extreme heat. HK-416, the piston AR, Germany. HK fixed the M4's reliability issues by installing a short-stroke gas piston. It runs cleaner and cooler. This is the rifle that killed Osama bin Laden. HK-433, the hybrid, Germany. HK's attempt to combine the controls of the G36 and the reliability of the HK-416 into one perfect rifle. It is currently competing to be the next German service weapon. Heinel MK556, the Challenger, Germany. The rifle that almost replaced the G36 before legal issues stopped it. It is essentially a high-quality clone of the HK-416.
FN Scar L, the Boot, Belgium. Designed for US SOCOM, it features a monolithic upper receiver and a folding boot stock. It is extremely reliable, but Special Forces eventually went back to the M4. FN F2000, the Tuna, Belgium. A bulky, futuristic bullpup that ejects empty shells out the front of the gun so they don't hit the user in the face. It was used by Slovenian forces, but was generally considered too bulky. Bushmaster ACR, the Adaptable, USA. It gained fame in video games as the ultimate modular rifle. In reality, it was too expensive and arrived too late to beat the AR-15 market dominance. Robinson Armament XCR, the Contender, USA. A modular rifle that competed against the SCAR. It lost the military contract, but found a cult following in the civilian market for its reliability and easy caliber changes. RAX-160, the Fish, Italy. A polymer rifle with a unique feature. You can switch which side the empty shells eject from by pressing a button with a bullet tip, making it truly ambidextrous in seconds. Thales F90, the Aussie, Australia. A heavily modernized version of the Steyr AUG. It is lighter, adds rails, and fixes the non-detachable barrel issue of the original. Barrett REC-7, the 6.8, USA. A piston-driven AR-15 designed by the makers of the 50 caliber sniper rifle. It was chambered in 6.8 SPC, a round designed to hit harder than 5.56 millimeters. Desert Tech MDR, the modular bullpup, USA. A bullpup that can change calibers in minutes from 5.56 millimeters up to 7.62 millimeters. It ejects shells forward to allow for ambidextrous use. Keltec RFB/RDB, the downward ejector, USA. Bullpup rifles that eject spent casings out the front or downwards. It solves the issue of bullpups ejecting brass into the face of left-handed shooters. KAC SR-16, the Premium, USA. Built by Knights Armament, it is widely considered the highest quality direct impingement AR-15 in the world, used by the Secret Service and elite units. AAC Honey Badger, the Quiet Professional, USA. A hybrid between an assault rifle and an SMG, firing the 300 Blackout cartridge. It was designed to replace the MP5 SD for silent operations. SIG MCX Virtus/Rattler, the Modular King, USA/Switzerland. A piston-driven AR that can change barrels and stocks instantly. It has been adopted by special forces worldwide, including the SAS and Delta Force. Finally, the future, the next generation of warfare. HK-G11, the Clockwork, Germany. The most famous rifle that never was. It fired caseless ammunition, blocks of propellant with no brass shell. It looked like a brick and had an internal mechanism as complex as a Swiss watch. Steyr ACR, the Flechette, Austria. A prototype that fired tiny steel darts, flechettes, at hypervelocity. It was incredibly accurate and flat shooting, but the darts lacked
stopping power. SPIWO, the 60s Dream, USA, the Special Purpose Individual Weapon, a 1960s program to create a rifle firing flechettes and grenades. It was a technological disaster that wasted millions. OICW, X-29, the Computer, USA, the Objective Individual Combat Weapon, a massive combination of a rifle and a smart grenade launcher. It was too heavy and too expensive, but led to the development of the XM8. XM8, the Starfish, USA. Based on the G36, this looked like a sci-fi prop. It almost replaced the M16 in the mid-2000s, but was cancelled due to bureaucracy and a lack of significant advantage over the M4. XM7, Sig Sauer MCX Spear, the new standard, USA 2024, the winner of the Next Generation Squad Weapon program. It moves away from the 5.56mm to a massive 6.8 by 51mm cartridge. It uses high pressure to punch through modern body armor at long ranges. RM-277, the plastic ammo, the runner-up in the Next Generation Squad Weapon program. A bullpup that used plastic-cased ammunition to save weight. It offered a compact package with full ballistic power. Textron NGSW, the Experiment. It fired bullets where the projectile was buried inside the gunpowder block, cased telescoped to save space and weight. It was the most radical design of the competition.